Hello, my name is Daryl, and this is Dan, and welcome to the Wheels Manufacturing Instructional Video Series. In this series, we'll be showing you how to correctly remove and install a DU bush into a rear shock, as well as identify and measure up a reducer itself. Now, any noises you may hear in the background is us making parts. That's where the manufacturing part of our names comes into play. So just ignore that. Dan, would you like to show them the DUs?
Sure will. What we're going to do is replace the part that typically wears out on all suspensions. It's the DU bush, nestled right in here. You can kind of see it. That's the part that wears out. What we've made here is a tool that conveniently removes and reinstalls one of these DU bushes. If you don't have our tool, which you can call us up and buy one directly from us, or you can go to wheelsmfg.com and buy one online. If you don't have this particular tool, you're probably searching for the correct size socket and rock to beat it out. Ideally, what you want to use is this tool. Again, right tool for the right job. So identify what size of DU bush you have in there. This happens to be a Fox shock, which has a 1/2 inch DU bush. The other two sizes are 10 millimeter and 12 millimeter. The most common size is probably going to be 1/2 inch. So find your driver unit, which all of our drivers are laser marked with what particular size they are. Find the 1/2 inch one, insert it into the DU bush. What you want to do is you have two ends to your to what's basically going to capture the DU bush after you pound it out. You have a hollow end and you have a solid end. Stick the hollow end onto the shaft here. Find your hammer and simply tap it out. Sometimes it may be a little bit sticky and you're going to need a little bit more force than that. But ideally what happens is it pushes it directly out. You just removed your DU bush. Find a replacement one. And basically, installation is reversal of removal. So put your DU bush in, just making sure it's a little bit snug so you have it in there properly. Again, get your 1/2 inch tool, driver tool. Put that in there. Now this time, what you're going to do is use the solid end. And what it'll do is the DU bush will bottom out on that being correctly installed. So again, put that over the shaft. Find what we affectionately call the hat to place underneath here or into the hollow end. This is only designed so you don't mar up your bench, your kitchen table, whatever you happen to be working on at the time. So find that, install that into the hollow end. And tap the new DU bush into place. It'll bottom out on the other side. Remove the tools, reinstall. That's basically how it works. Before I hand it back over to Daryl, the reason why we're removing and reinstalling new DU bushes in there is because obviously you identified a problem with your suspension. What's going to be going wrong is that you're going to have play in the suspension, somewhere in the suspension linkage. And the DU bushes, that's what's designed to wear out. Rather than your shock wear out, your DU bush is going to wear out. It could be angular, it could be too much up and down play, side to side play. That's most likely what's going to be wrong, and that's why you're going to replace the DU bush. Let's throw it back over to Daryl. We've replaced the DU bush. Throw it back over to Daryl, and he's going to explain how you identify the correct reducer to get your bike working back again.
Thanks for explaining that, Dan. What I'm going to show you here is how to correctly measure up a reducer and to obviously get the right one for your needs. There's many different lengths of reducers, as well as several different DU bushing types, as well as two varying inner diameters of the actual bushing itself. The bushing could range anywhere from 15 all the way up to 60 millimeters. And what the reducer does is basically it is in your frame between the actual suspension linkages with the shock right there, and that allows the actual linkage actuation process. So what we're going to do, you'd obviously removed our shock already. Next thing we're going to do is take out the reducer, grab a pair of calipers, and you want to have a pretty accurate pair of calipers, always measuring in millimeters, of course, not micrometers, as we've had some people call us up and ask about, and measure up. This one is pretty much right on the money, 28.6, pretty typical reducer length. Now, the reason you need such, a pretty good set of calipers is some reducers there's only a difference of about 1/2 to 3/4 of a millimeter between one size and the next. So you definitely don't want to get too big of one, and you don't want to get too small. So you want to, get it going there correctly. So once you have your length, the second thing you want to do is identify which DU bushing you need. Now, this DU happens to be a 1/2 inch for Fox shocks. There is also 12 millimeters, which often encompasses Manitou and rock shocks, as well as 10 millimeters, some of the really older rock shocks. So now we've properly identified 28.6 for the length. The second thing we want to do is now look at here. 6.1, which is typical drilling for a 6 millimeter bolt. You have two options, 6 or 8 millimeters for this inner bolt size. Write that down and definitely remember that. So now we've identified length, DU bush, and the inner diameter. And at this point, we're ready to go install. Add one O-ring, grab your shock, place it into the shock, a second O-ring, these are helpful for keeping the dust and grime out, and your sleeve. There you go. We have the shock. Once you push it together, the O-rings flare out just a little bit, and at this point, we are ready to install this onto the frame again. And the suspension should be working much better at this point in time. So I hope this has been informative as far as how to remove and install the DU, as well as identify the new linkage reducers. Stay tuned for further wheels manufacturing video series in the future. Thank you.